You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It's takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is KLRNradio.com. We are live right now. We do this thing every Tuesday and Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, and that's right. That means it is the day I like to call not Monday, because thank God it's not Monday. I am one half of the crew, Mr. Vic Robinson. She's the other half of the crew, Miss Jen Homestead. Good evening. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing okay. Recovering from kind of a crazy weekend, but otherwise settling into the week.
Yeah, I saw some of the updates from your crazy weekend. You did have a bit of a crazy one. So glad you're back. Glad you're home. Even if you did drive through Oklahoma and completely ignore me again. No, I'm just playing. All right. So anyway.
Well, I just almost didn't tell you I was coming at all, and then whoopsie, the emergency happened, so you found out. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, see, what happened was you accidentally let it slip last week on the show, and you're like, crap, I wasn't going to say anything this time. No, I'm just playing.
No.
All right. So anyway, folks, we're going to kind of skip the usual back and forth banter because we actually have guests with us this evening, so I should probably start trying to behave myself a bit. So for those of you that have been following along, we actually have a show that'll be joining KLR and Radio here in August. We have the hosts of For Immediate Release. We're actually going to bring them in now, even though right now they're probably like, how do I find the end button on this call? No. But anyway, so last time they were on Robinson and Wright, so we let Liz go first last time. So Bill drew the short straw this week, so he actually gets to be the one to go first this week. So good evening, Bill. How are you?
Thank you guys so much for having me. I was going to say, and having us, I was going to say I'd really want to know about Jen's weekend.
That's fine.
Okay,
we can do that too.
Much more fascinating than anything we might have.
I'll give you a little brief overview. So every year we travel to a very small rural town in southern Oklahoma where my grandmother lives, and it's kind of my mom's side of the family's home base. And the second or third weekend in July, however it falls, is their local rodeo, and then the Comanche Nation Indian powwow out on the lake there where she lives. So my family has been going to both of these events since long before I was ever born, and it's just a whole tradition, and we kind of make a whole weekend out of it with multiple cousins, aunts, uncles. You know, my grandma is still the matriarch that is kind of housing us all and hosting us, and so it's always a really fun time, and now my son gets to partake in that little tradition, and we kind of live for this weekend during the summer. And then this year we had the neighbor across the street, kind of catty corner to my grandmother's house. Unfortunately, the temps were peaked out at 114 on Friday and Saturday, and they're not quite sure yet what exactly happened. Possibly a combo of heat and a bad, some unfortunately bad wiring or electrical, but the house catty corner caught fire, and it was like a 24-hour ordeal. So we do as you do for neighbors, and especially in small towns, and everybody jumped in, and they only have a small volunteer fire department, so they're bringing in people from other counties, and at one point the water pressure was too low, and it's just kind of it was just quite the calamity. And unfortunately they did their home was a total loss. Everybody was safe. Everybody was safe. They got out in plenty of time. They got pets out, and then it was just kind of just watching it burn. And my parents, we had a fire at our family home several years ago, and so my mom and I, who were both up there, are this kind of resonated deeply with us. So we kind of jumped into action and helped however we could. And also had to watch, the neighborhood had to be on watch for the fire after they got the initial part of it out and the structure was mostly down. It kept re-engulfing in flames in various points, and they don't have the kind of infrastructure to have round-the-clock firemen. They don't even have a full fire department. It's mostly volunteer. So that was kind of an ongoing thing, and basically neighborhood watch all night long. So anyways, the important part is everybody's safe, and they are going to be doing at some point soon some sort of fund that we'll kind of crowdsource, and I'll push out on social media if there's anyone that would like to donate. And then also an Amazon list. So even if people are in the area, I know a lot of people listen to Rick, then if they've got clothes or toiletries or just anything that once they get in their temporary space, that anything that could help, I'll be pushing that out over the coming week after the investigation's over and they kind of get set up in a spot where they'll be while they figure out what's going to happen with their property. So anyways, lots of prayers and thoughts and lots of people reaching out to me this weekend about it. And so I really appreciate that. And I know the family does too.
That's great. Everyone's got to chip in. Liz, I don't mean to bring us too far afield, but Liz has been through that, right? Liz, you had the problem with your home a few years ago.
Yeah, Jen, we had a house fire back on New Year's Day morning at 6 o'clock in the morning and out of nowhere. And, everyone asleep, 5 kids and my husband and I in the house, and, the smoke alarm went off. And, it's just one of those things, since you've been through it, it's just almost impossible to explain to someone how terrifying it is. And it all happens first of all, it happens so quickly, but it also happens almost in slow motion.
Yes.
And standing outside and watching all of it once everyone's out of the house, obviously there's the big relief once everyone's out, but it's still, it's such a big violation. You just watch your own favorite personal things evaporate. And with your grandmother's house, I'm sure there were decades of mementos and memories and treasures in there, even tiny little things that were of no value to anybody else. And so I'm so sorry for you and for them.
Well,
it's terrible.
This was actually her neighbor, so it was the people that lived in, yes. But so that's kind of why we just kind of knew, like you said, it is just stuff, and you have to remind yourself that it's just stuff, but it's also, like you said, memories and keepsakes, and that doesn't mean that your stuff, there is stuff that's replaceable and there's stuff that's not. And you definitely can't replace people, so that's the most important thing. But there are things that are also treasures and irreplaceable to someone who has built a life somewhere. So it is sad. I mean, they're already having pretty great resolve about it, so that's good. But you and I both know that it's just really unimaginable.
Well, and especially because it comes out of nowhere. There's no way to anticipate it. It's not like something else, and so it's really the shock of that takes a very long time to get over.
Yes, very true.
Well, that was a nice icebreaker.
Way to go, Bill. Liz. This is my way of throwing it to you.
You don't get to pass your time off to Jen. And
it really is a pleasure to be on, and thank you guys for having us. We're very excited to be launching for immediate release in just a couple of weeks now. And Liz and I have worked together in politics and outside of politics. We've collaborated on so many things over the years. And so we're really excited about doing this. And we're listening to you guys for some tips. You have great opening music. We have nothing right now. We could do chopsticks. But I'm sure we'll find something. But we're really excited to do it. And Liz is incredibly articulate. She's worked in so many different fields and has done a couple of presidential campaigns, worked in the Reagan-Bush White House, has really seen a lot, and we're hoping we can bring that to listeners a little bit to bring to life what goes on on the pages of political newspapers every day, to try to bring some real life to it.
Well, my hope, and Billy and I have talked, but he kind of buried the important part that we've known each other for 40 years, because it really does make us sound very old, but it's actually true. And I think one of the things we want to focus on really is what's going on the ground in local towns, like you just talked about, Jen, every single day. And, the fact that we're watching local newspapers disappear, be bought up and dismantled, like the Daily News and the Boston Herald, it makes it even more important that we stay in touch with and highlight what is important and what is valuable in people's everyday lives. And so we're going to try to connect the big stuff to the little stuff and show how it all matters, and make sure that what happens, in the morning when people get up and when they go to bed, is not lost in the chaos and the noise and the fighting and the incivility in the national discourse right now. So, Billy brings decades of writing experience to this platform. I mean, he's still a columnist for Newsday here in New York, and which is read nationally. And he's been writing. He comes from a family of writers and publishers, as you guys know. And his ability to discern what is newsworthy, but also what is significant to a voter, to a citizen, to an elected official, is almost unmatched anywhere. So the combination of all the things we've done in the past, we're hoping will add some life to the podcast world.
I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. You guys,
and we'll take all the tips.
Quite a pedigree.
We'll take all the tips we can from you.
Correct. And might steal them. We won't just take them. Yeah.
You can't steal them. I give them away. Just saying.
Liz was talking about the loss of local news. We just had a big hit in New York, but it's happened all over the country. I mean, every small town has felt it. Every region's had it. But in New York, the Daily News, which was once the biggest paper in the country, it had 2.4 million readers in 1947. I guess just after the war. I grew up. It was kind of the working man's paper. It was actually a Republican paper for a while until the New York Post became a Republican paper and they switched. But the Daily News was. I grew up with that on my kitchen table, reading the comics and the rest of it. And they, after many, many cuts, they just laid off 50% of what was remaining of their newsroom, and I think they're down to 35 or something. And that was a paper with thousands of employees, from the newsroom to the street and delivery process. And we're seeing that all across the country. I mean, I know you see it in Texas and Oklahoma. You see it in all the Gannett chains have shrunk. I mean, all the chains have shrunk. Boston, and it takes a toll on the culture. It lets elected officials that are not always looking to do what's best for everybody, but often themselves, it lets them get away with more. And so I think Liz is right. It's really important to, you have to talk about the national, you have to talk about the state, but you have to, touch it to real life and bring it to the ground of where we all live and touch it to our daily lives. I mean, Jim was just talking about, what happened with a grandmother's neighbor's house. I mean, they're, kids. I mean, that's what matters, like our lives. We're all trying to get up in the morning and do the things we have to do to get through the day and to keep people safe and to, prepare kids for school and the rest of it. And ultimately, those are the things that matter most.
I think, too, there's just in the mood everywhere now. People are looking to connect locally again. There's so much there's been so much activity and cable, saturation and people. The fact that we've lost so many local weekly papers I thought was a really big loss. But to lose the local daily papers is really something, and I think that there's going to be some kind of maybe the pendulum will come fully back. I mean, as a business, it's not profitable enough anymore, and we see what's going on. But there's going to be a very big void here, and somehow, and I think Billy's point about having some instrument, if you will, that can hold not just hold elected officials accountable, but connect local government and local activities to voters. It's not sustainable to have nothing. We just can't do it. So I don't know what the answer is yet. Maybe we can come up with it on this show over the next couple of months in this year. But this is a pattern that's going to be very damaging, I think, culturally. Well, not to mention the fact that we all know that, the kids in school, they love to see their local swim meets covered in the local paper and, the Girl Scouts activities and the local churches and temples and all that civic stuff that goes on. Without a platform for people to read about it, they'll feel very disconnected. It's a real shame.
Well, I don't know how it's working everywhere else, but here's what's happened in my neck of the woods. So the Daily Oklahoman was recently sold to an out-of-state group. It's now printed and run out of Tulsa, and it used to be an Oklahoma City paper. So what's happened is, because everybody kind of feels disconnected from that paper now, there have been 3 or 4 really well-respected independent online papers that have sprung up, and people that used to write for all of the big papers here are actually going to they're going to write over there. Also, I kind of feel pretty fortunate because I've managed to get interconnected with one of the last locally owned media groups in the country that I've been able to find. Tyler Media actually runs a group of stations out here, one of which happens to be KOKC 1520, which I actually am occasionally called to fill in on, and I'll be doing that again both next Wednesday and next Thursday. They're one of the last locally owned groups that I can find, and that's kind of a huge deal because they're dominating the local market.
Well, that's good to hear.
And
Although
well, I think part of it
I wonder
is,
for the young kids.
Well,
Go ahead,
sorry. Just one last thing. I think part of it is what happened when all the deregulation started. I can't think of what they used to be called before, but now they're iHeartMedia. They went in and gobbled up pretty much every station that they could find. And now they are coming apart at the seams. They overextended. They filed reorganization bankruptcy multiple times. So there have been some smaller groups that are starting to go back in and rebuy those stations. I think we might actually start seeing a bit of a push going back the other way. But I think eventually what's going to happen, and this is one of the things that I've talked about with programming directors here locally and a few other people, eventually everything is going to move to stuff like this, because we're seeing now what we saw in the 70s when everybody was talking about cable TV. Now, first it was internet podcasting, now it's internet radio. Eventually it's just going to be radio.
Well, and I think that's part of it, right, is that people that part of the appeal of podcasts is people can turn to something that they actually want instead of waiting for something to come on the radio dial. So they can really tailor their experience in listening to radio by using services that host various podcasts, or just finding people like us on the radio and say you're hosting an Oklahoma, political show, or even just a current events show for things that are in a local area. There's lots of those out there, and it doesn't take much for people to start up. And so, I think that there's a real turn to that, just the same way that they're, like y'all were talking about, the online papers or even just blogs. It's just kind of the movement forward in media. And it's sad for, what we kind of think of as the old faithfuls and what we're used to, and there's a nostalgia there. But I think there's also a lot of positive things to be gained from the way that these new media platforms can really specialize and localize.
Yeah, no question. There's always creative destruction in it. One of the things that Liz and I are hoping to do also is to bring some members of the news media that we've worked with over the years, often confrontationally, but always professionally, but to bring them on the show as well to give an inside look of what it's like on all sides of this. I mean, the press is taking a whooping right now in the country. And, I've shaken my fist at enough reporters over the years on stories, but there was always a respect back and forth. And we think it might be interesting for listeners to be able to see what it's like from their side, how they cover things, what they decide is a story. We could talk about, implied bias, the rest of it. But let's talk about it in an open and cordial way, so maybe we can understand one another a little bit better. I mean, is that about right, Liz?
At 100%, because it's not in anyone's interest to have, frankly, the ongoing or this current attitude that we have. And I believe I share this view at times. That the news is unreliable, it's untrustworthy, it's very biased, and a lot of it is unbiased and unapologetically so. With say MSNBC is staked its claim, and Fox is staked its claim, and CNN pretends they're in the middle, but we know they're not in the middle. I think giving listeners a window into sort of the sausage making with some of the reporters Billy and I have gotten to know who we really respect, so they can understand almost the high wire act that they sometimes have to follow and what's really involved in bringing a story to life, I think would be very helpful, because otherwise everything is either dismissive, that's the other side, or that's a lie, and I hate saying fake news, but or fake news. And so I hope that's a value that we can bring to this, because I do think it's critically important. We got to have some, I don't know what the statistics are now, the polls are now on who people trust and what they trust, but the fact that people get their information from all over the place and don't even know if it's even from, just from the next door neighbor who's blogging all night, who has a point of view, or if it's from, Dan Rather or Jeff Glore, one of those folks, it does matter, and it should matter where you're getting it from. So we've got to help people understand the process, or I hope we can help people understand the process that goes in.
And Liz, I actually just did get the poll numbers for the bottom three for trust and likability. It goes hemorrhoids, Congress, news media.
There you go.
Hot off the press.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah, they're thinking of
and when Congress is feeding the news media, you're really, never mind hemorrhoids, you're in trouble. That's
Congress
really
was
bad.
about a year ago.
Yeah. Yep. It's terrible. But we're going to also talk plenty about politics. Billy, don't think for 1 minute that we're not going to spend, the lion's share of our time evaluating, who's in office now, what they aren't doing that they said they would do, and really what we can do. And I think our primary motivation in doing this was to say, hey, we've got to start holding our own generation accountable for the massive debt that this country has, the fact that we have no national plan for infrastructure, we have no national plan to fix our schools, on and on. And it's really not enough for us to sit around and rail about it. We've got to try to bring along the next generation of leaders who are going to do something to set things on course.
Remember when everyone was talking about Simpson Bowles? That was like $6 trillion ago. I mean, Simpson Bowles was like panic, oh, good Lord, Simpson Bowles, we've got to do something now. And, that was trillions of dollars ago. Incredible.
Yep. Yeah. We're not going to talk about Russia, though.
Nothing in Russia.
Well,
but
we
again,
might.
Any advice you guys have for us? Any advice you guys have, we'll be happy to take, because you've been at this for, I know, a few years now, and successfully. So, we'll learn. Hope to learn from you.
Rick, you got anything?
Well, I mean, honestly,
I'm still learning. I feel like I'm still screwing up all the time.
Here's the thing. The biggest thing is never stop realizing that you're constantly learning, especially if you're doing something like this. Also, the biggest thing, and I'm just gonna put on I coach people for a living hat, because that's kind of what I do at my day job, and this is a problem that I run into with folks a lot. And I've seen this happen. Like I said, I've done this now for 10 years. I started my original project with 6 other people. I'm the last one of those original people still doing shows. Everybody got it in their head that if they weren't rich and famous within a year, they were out. If you're doing this to make money, you might as well just stop now. If you're doing it to make a difference, as long as you're doing it because you love it and you want to try to make things better, just don't ever lose sight of that. I have come close to that a few times. Like I said, 10 years all in for everything across all platforms. I have almost hung this stuff up 3 or 4 times. And I have to tell you, if I had, I wouldn't have gotten the news I got the other day, which I can't really talk about much publicly, but you guys know some of it. And I wouldn't be in the position that I'm at right now. I wouldn't have a platform that I've put together with some really great friends. I wouldn't be able to bring you guys over and say, hey, I think you're a great fit for the platform, and I think you'll help us grow, and I think we can help you grow. And none of this would be happening right now if I hadn't just said, you know what, screw it, I'm doing it because I want to do it. It doesn't matter if I ever make a dime at it. I'm trying to make things better. So you just have to hold on to the perspective of, the things that you guys are talking about right now as to why you want to do this show. Never let that go away. As long as you hang on to that, whatever else happens, the ride's going to be worth it.
It's funny, just sticking with it. I mean, Liz, how many times have I told you I was quitting politics, and you to me the same? Every 18 months. That's it.
It's really
I'm going to go
true.
move to the woods. I'm gonna go fishing, and I'm never coming back. And it lasts about 48 hours.
I also want to expand upon what Rick's talking about a little bit, because I think they kind of go hand in hand. It's just that idea of like being true to yourself, because that'll come through. It'll come through as genuine. It'll come through as earnest, and it'll come through as someone that is likable and relatable, and also being able to say, not contriving an opinion on every single subject just because it gets brought up and just because, someone asks you about it. Like, don't make crap up or and I'm not saying like make crap up like, facts. I just mean, don't even make up, fake emotions about it or passion about it if it's really like that's something that really doesn't bother or doesn't interest me or I know little about. And if the other person does, then great, then you can listen to that. But I feel like there are a lot of people that contrive opinions because they're supposed to have one on certain issues, or they're supposed to have this kind of opinion on a certain issue. And Rick and I sometimes disagree on things, but I think that I've been told by some people that they really like that because we're not fighting. We're just saying, I don't see it that way. This is how I took it. This is how I view it. This matters more to me. And some subjects do matter more to others than they do to you, and vice versa. So allowing that to be there and allowing a space for that, I think, is really important and often not really given that opportunity in a lot of podcasts, and especially like talk radio format type shows.
I think that's good advice.
Such great guidance. Very great. Yep. And if I don't want to talk about what Billy's talking about, I might just get off.
No. Just ask Jen. That's what the mute button's for.
I feel like I just got a permission slip from Jen.
You know what's fun, Jen? I do a show, just a local show, local television show here in New York, and I always feel I have to have an opinion on things. And sometimes I just want to say, you know what? Whatever the outrage of the day is, it doesn't really bother me. But you say that it doesn't really bother me. I'm going to be grilled to the wall for a half an hour. So I'll go, oh, can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Yeah, but on your own show, you won't have to do that.
That's right. Exactly. That's what we'll do. But we don't want to hog your own show.
Yes, we don't.
I mean, we have been there a couple times where Rick and I are going after it. Sometimes we're going after something, and then all of a sudden, like, we'll go on break, and I'll be like, oh, my gosh, we just talked about that for, like, 10 minutes, and I just really don't give a crap. Like, there's so many other more important things. And so then when we come back, and then we come back and we kind of go, we are moving on from that because it really is minimal, to what we care about and what's happening today or whatever. So, everybody gets caught up in it from time to time, of course, but trying to kind of remember that, I think, is advice even for myself that I have to remember. You don't have to be mad when you're not mad, or you don't have to be excited when you're not excited. It's okay.
Well, it doesn't help that you have it doesn't help that you have a co-host that likes to intentionally try to press your buttons. Oh wait, did I say that out loud?
Yeah, but you didn't always. That's because we're like,
long distance marriage
now. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so believe it or not, guys, we're already well past the bottom of the hour, so we're going to have to take a break here. You guys want to hang out or call it quits for the night?
Yeah, we'll give you your show back. We don't want to hug your show. Yeah.
All right, not a problem.
Huge thanks for having us on. We really look forward to starting ours, and we hope you guys can come on for immediate release.
Exactly.
We would love to.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't want to speak for my co-host, but I would love to. I'm sure she probably
you know you can.
Thanks for all your enthusiasm and support for this. It's really exciting for us. It's going to be it's our debut.
Well, we're really excited about it. We're getting
the crowd share for the house.
We're getting lots of different feedback on it. Everything's been positive that we've heard so far, so we're really looking forward to adding you guys to the lineup. And I will reach out to you guys in the next couple of days because we do have to start working on getting some stuff over to the editor so I can get you guys added to the website.
Terrific.
Use Liz's photo.
That's great.
All right, well, folks, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have a continuing conversation on the events of the day. You guys take care. We'll see you in just about 3 minutes. Stay tuned.
Bye.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
All right, folks, welcome back. So in case you missed it, where have you been for the last half hour? We had the host of For Immediate Release. They joined us for the beginning of the show. If you missed it, first of all, you're slackers. Second of all, no worries. That's why we have podcasts. You can catch it later on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, FM Player, Google Play Music, Spreaker, or pretty much anywhere else that you like podcasts. And soon, because they're taking forever to approve shows, Spotify, because we've actually had a couple of shows that have already been approved, so now we're lining them up and just sending them all over and saying, deny us now! No, anyway, but yeah, this is one of the ones that we haven't put over there yet, because I just wanted to test it with a couple to see how many hoops they were going to make us jump through. And it was a pain, and it took forever, but we got it done. So now that I know how to do it, we're going to start working on getting everybody else over there, because you know, Spotify is just the place you go for pretty much anything anymore. Now that they offer podcasts, I think they're about to start really giving iHeart a run for their money. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think so too.
But anyway.
I've just in general liked the platform better, just as a user. You know, the interface and the apps and all of it has just for me been a lot more consistent and easy to use.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it for me. I have to admit, I was late to the Spotify game. I never really was big on, you know, the whole music on your phone thing until I started realizing that now they make things that are small enough that you can kind of put them in your ears, and half the time people don't even realize you have them in your ears. So half the time my wife's like, why aren't you listening to me? And I'm like, oh, sorry, I had my earbuds in.
Oh, I know, I do that too. My husband's like talking to me and then he's like, hello. And he's like, oh, you're listening to something. I'm like, pretty much always.
But yeah, it kind of becomes stress relief as well. Like if I'm really, really busy at work, I'll put in one of my earbuds and like turn on music kind of softly. So I'm not like screaming in my head at the people that will not get off my phone. Oh, wait, did I say that out loud? Anyway, so other news in case you weren't aware, America Off the Rails, the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show, those are the two so far that I know for sure have made it to Spotify. I'm going to go back through this week and see who else has or has not been submitted yet and make sure we get all the little buttons clicked. So it's probably going to be 6 to 8 weeks before we know for sure. But like I said, it was a bit of a pain, but we didn't have to do too much to make sure that everything got accepted. So I guess we'll see what happens with the rest of them. So anyway, I figure we should probably talk a little bit about what's going on in the news. Because, guns are bad in America, but there was just a shooting in Canada. I'm kind of curious as to how, because now Canada's blaming us for their gun problem, which I find kind of funny.
Naturally. Of course.
Because
aren't we the problem of everybody's in the world? Anything that happens, it's our fault?
Well, yeah, but it's our fault because we have too many guns, and guns are sneaking across the Canadian border all by themselves. Because that's how they talk. It's not our fault. American guns are coming across the border. So the guns are walking themselves to Canada, eh? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, they're all growing legs, just like they, grow the ability to pull their own trigger and shoot people. So,
I have several guns, maybe, in places that shall never be disclosed, maybe, that have never once removed themselves from their places of storage and gone on rampages. So, but the thing that I find funny is because, it's all about America. Gun violence in America is terrible, blah, 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 blah. Canada has the strictest gun laws around. And yet there was just a mass shooting in Canada.
Well, I mean, we know why this happens, right? It's not just laws don't deter criminals that are extremely determined to break the law. I mean, that's why there are prisons that are overflowing and everything else. I mean, not to mention, we've already talked about before, crappy sentences and people in prison that probably shouldn't be, or in a lot of our opinions shouldn't be. But also it's because, those pesky laws deter good people and might give someone with some sort of conscience a minute to pause. But for anyone that wants to live that way or who has some sort of vendetta or is mentally insane, I mean, all the laws in the world aren't going to be able to stop them from doing what they're doing unless they're caught ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that, I've said this before, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it again. And I'm just going to, because nobody knows what I'm talking about when I call it by its actual name, so I'm just going to say it the way I usually say it on social media. Unless somebody's going to find a way to activate the giant MIB flashy thing that's apparently in the Statue of Liberty and erase everybody's mind when it comes to guns, the genie's never going back in the bottle. What's worse, liberals are, there's a reason I started with guns, because liberals are having meltdowns right now. Because you remember the guy that 3D printed his own gun and then got slapped with a federal injunction? Guess what? No more federal injunction. Which means now people can actually 3D print firearms again. Liberals not so happy. Saying.
No, they're not happy, and they're acting like this is, but they are acting like this is some brand new thing that can't, that this is going to allow all of this to just like hit. I mean, y'all, there was already ways to find out how to do this, even with an injunction. Like, this is not something new. People have been able to do it for a long time. They're not supposed to, but again, what did we talk about? What people are supposed to do versus what they actually do if they want to. I mean, this is not some brand new technology. It's been around, and the ability to find out how to do this if you want to is there regardless of any judge's orders.
And that's the thing. Come on. I mean, let's be honest. And you don't have to raise your hand. I'm raising mine, but you can't see it. How many of us don't always do things like buckle our seatbelt and follow all the little stupid annoying laws? So, I mean, come on. Really, when you stop and think about it, if the government half the time, if the government tells me I can't do something, that usually makes me want to do it even more. So you can't tell me that it wasn't still happening.
Yeah, it absolutely was.
But yeah, it's just funny to watch the meltdowns because now everybody's like, oh my god, firearms are going to be even more easily accessible because now you can print them and blah, 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 blah. So I saw somebody else that came up with a really funny idea, in places like California and everywhere where they're doing the whole banning of the soda straws and the coffee straws. Dude was like, we should buy like 5 or 6 3D printers and just print up a bunch of them and go sell them right outside the restaurants.
Well, and San Francisco is one of those cities that is no longer going to allow disposable straws or plastic straws, I should say. This is the city that allows you to shoot up heroin on the street, to defecate on the street, to toss your syringes. They have syringe receptacles where oftentimes the needle never makes it to the actual receptacle. But this is all acceptable in their world. But heaven forbid you go get a drink and use a plastic straw. That we cannot stand.
Yeah, that we can't have that. So I just realized how sleep deprived I must actually be, because when you said toss your, I didn't expect you to say syringe.
Is it after dark yet?
That's why I kind of self-edited, because I have to behave, because next week I'll actually be under very strict FCC regulations. There will be a guy there with a 7-second dump button, but I can't necessarily guarantee he's going to find it in time, so I have to behave. So I'm having to reteach myself.
You do a pretty good job.
I do sometimes, and then I get mad, like a couple Fridays ago, and then I get all these messages from people like, why don't you do your show that way all the time? That was awesome. I'm like, because I cussed like a sailor for 57.5 minutes.
I know. You're usually so good about it that I really get I really get a kick out of it when you drop a few bombs.
So does everybody else. I think that's what makes it funny, because I rarely do it, and then when I do it, it's just like this big old chain of them just comes out, and they're like, who are you, and what have you done with Rick? I'm like, guys, this is how I talk in real life. Some of you have met me. You know this.
Right,
anyway.
Absolutely.
So, the media and the Democrats' little darling is back in the news again.
Oh, Lord, what now?
Well, actually, people are making fun of her because she keeps having really dumb pictures taken. And then apparently a person that does really good, like, satire, like, interviews put together something making her look completely stupid, and then everybody started sharing it, and then she was convinced that everybody was sharing it because they thought it was real. Turns out, if you look at the satire version of the interview, it was more flattering than the actual interview. But apparently she's like, oh my God, Republicans are so dumb. At least we know what color our states are going to flip. If they flip. Just saying.
Well, I did watch the little satire parody piece, and I, sometimes those things are funny to me. Sometimes I'm like, meh. And I didn't think it was like all that great, but I mean, it was funny enough. It was, but it was obvious that it was not meant to be real, and that it came from the other interview. And when they first put it out there, that's exactly what they said. They said that this was, that they were going to be mocking this interview that she gave. And so this idea, like, there was a few people, especially a specific New York Times reporter, that was just all up in arms and was like, this is not okay. It's a misrepresentation. They are purposely misleading people. Well, is Saturday Night Live purposely misleading people? Because they do the same dang thing. I mean, it's just, there's all sorts of stuff out there. This is part of, it's part of our culture, really, to mock and make fun of, and to splice and cut, clips, and to make them seem like there's something else. I mean, it's part of the deal, and to act like this is just beyond the pale because, how dare you do this to their newest it girl, and they want to act. I mean, liberals have gone on and on and on with making fun of Republicans for as long as I can remember on national comedy shows, and they've used real clips, and they've faked interviews and all of that kind of stuff, and no one was outraged saying people think this is real and that's irresponsible and how dare you do this and it is inappropriate and all of this crap that they're saying today. I'm sorry. I just cannot be bothered to care that you are pissed off about this. That says everything about you and nothing about the person who did the parody.
So what you're saying is we should be upset that the majority of people that are mad at you for reading this apparently have the 4th grade reading level and didn't understand that it was satire. Because, it's not like it's even a reading comprehension problem. They were watching something. I turned it on for like a minute and realized it was satire. I didn't even know who that person was. I went and looked at their bio after I shut it off because I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be like something like legit. So I was like, oh, that's obviously satire. So I went and looked at their bio, and it plainly says in their bio, we do satire. I'm like,
yeah, and I didn't know who she was. I'm not like super familiar, but I have seen her before, Allie, and I've watched a few of her things and everything. Yeah, this is what she does. This is a huge part of what she does, and it's supposed to be funny. And she's not, she's not rude and demeaning to people. It's just silly stuff. And I love what she said today. She's like, "Girl, this is obviously satire, like what you getting worked up about. Welcome to being a public figure." And then later, that the outrage mob is still after her and they want, something done about this. They want the video taken down. They want her fired from CRTV. And she said, LOL, I'm not apologizing. I'm like, good for you. Please don't. This is so stupid.
And that's the thing.
No, there was nothing offensive about it.
Here's the thing, and this is the same thing that I said earlier this week over the whole James Gunn thing, and you and I haven't talked about this yet, so we may disagree. All I'm going to say about this is if everybody's going to start doing outrage mobs, this is why we can't have nice things. Because when both sides start doing outrage mobs, everything's going to suck. And both sides are starting to do outrage mobs. Would I have tweeted those things? No. Was it probably a really poor attempt at being funny? Yes. Much like Roseanne Barr's tweet was a really poor attempt at being funny. And even she said it. If I'd have thought about it, I would have phrased it differently and everybody would have been fine. But since I didn't, now I've lost everything. So the thing that I want to say is no, I'm not a fan of outrage mobs. So don't be part of the outrage mob. But at the same time, the left can't be mad at the right now for figuring out how the outrage mob things works because you guys have been doing that for decades. We may be slow, but we do eventually figure things out. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm with you. I don't really care for that kind of crap. And, the digging up old tweets and but them's the rules now. And you made them, progressives. Y'all made them the rules. So, you can't really get pissed off you can, but it's ridiculous that you get pissed off when it gets used against someone you like. And then all of a sudden there's all the reasons and excuses for why that was acceptable, or they apologized within X amount of time, so that made it okay. And now we just need to move on. People make mistakes, or people change their worldview, they live, they learn, all of this kind of blah, 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 blah that they do when it's about someone that agrees with them politically and someone that they like and don't want to see basically ousted from the public arena. But they don't give a crap about any of that when it's from the other side. All they want to do is roast them as fast and as hard as they can, and they want them to become completely obsolete. They want to ruin their lives, and quite frankly, a lot of times they go after everyone that they can find that has an affiliation with them and tries to go after them too. It's become so outrageous. It's so insane the lengths to which they've gone to try to fire, ruin people who and their relatives and friends and coworkers and unapologetically and acting like they deserved it and they had it coming. And then the second that something not even close to as bad, or even if it is as bad, happens on their side, they want to say, no, they apologize. And that was a long time ago. And so we need to not worry about it. And plus, by the way, since that happened, he's done X, Y, and Z, which proves that he's learned from that position, or he's changed his position, or he's evolved on the topic, or whatever it is. And I'm sorry, it's just hogwash. They're full of it.
You know what I really wish that we had? Because, we have all these cool things, like GIFs are everywhere now. So what I want to figure out how to do, and I'm sure there's probably a way to do it, I just haven't been able to find one. I want to figure out a way to tie GIFs with, audio, because I would drop this on anybody's timeline anytime they're in the middle of, the whole social media blah, blah, blah outrage mob thing, and it would go a little bit like this.
Just when I think you've said the stupidest thing ever, you keep talking.
And then the next time they dropped something, I'd be like,
my God, are you still talking?
And I swear, I would just do that over and over again until they blocked me. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, I'm so over it. And a lot of these people, some of the stuff that's coming out from some of these reporters and comedians and actors and just whatever, public figures on the left, I don't think necessarily, of course, there are some things that are just kind of unforgivable, but I don't think that necessarily any of them need to have their lives just completely overturned over some old crap either. But, when you spend years doing it to everyone and finding, sometimes you've imposed of, really there and then crucifying them. Well, then this is what you get. Eventually the tables are going to get turned.
Funny thing is, they always freak out when the tables are turned. But to be fair, the same thing is now happening on our side, because we'll get ginned up about our little outrage mobs and go after people, and then they'll try to start an outrage mob, and they'll be like, that's free speech. That's part of what's driving me crazy, is everybody's okay with it 99% of the time, as long as it's somebody or something that they agree with. And again, this was a hard lesson for me, because, like I was telling Liz and Bill, I actually started doing a lot of this stuff through Facebook. And when I first started Facebook pages, anytime anybody said anything on the Facebook page that ticked me off, I was like a huge fan of the band Hammer, dude. I was like, okay, I'm not putting up with the crap. You're out of here. So then, after a while, I kind of got bored doing it, because it was just me doing it, and it was a right-leaning page. So then I brought over a friend of mine who's more of a left-leaning person. And the funny thing is, my liberal friend, who is a literal bleeding heart liberal, was the one that reminded me that free speech means that I don't really have the right to be offended. It just gives me the ability to not listen if I choose to. So that's kind of where I come from with a lot of this stuff, is I really don't care what you say or how you say it. As a matter of fact, if you're saying really, really crazy stuff, everybody needs to know about the really, really crazy stuff that you're saying, so that everybody can see exactly how crazy you are. We don't need to block crazy stuff. We don't need to hide crazy stuff, because when we do that, crazy stuff finds a way to go back underground. Crazy stuff needs to be shown the light of day so everybody can see that it's still around, so we can deal with it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I'm also, it's okay to be mad about something. It's okay to get upset and to share your opinion on why that makes you angry, or you find it unacceptable or anything like that. But that doesn't mean that they need to be shut down. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't speak, or that they should every time lose their job. And that's up to their employers. That shouldn't be because a bunch of people get really angry and demand it and put their backs up against the wall every single time some sort of thing like this happens. No matter what side they fall on the political aisle. I'm just not a real big fan of getting people fired for words said, and I'm not a real big fan of boycotting for keeping on an employee that people didn't agree with, And I know that there are limits, and we all have them, and there are lines that we're not okay with people crossing. So that's okay, and that's fair, but that doesn't mean that you get to shut everybody down.
And that's the thing. We've gotten to the point where it's now acceptable to shut everybody down. I have a problem with that, because we don't talk about things anymore. We yell across the aisle at each other. I mean, I was watching, and I don't even remember what it was, but there was a scene it was either from the House or from the Senate the other day, and it was during the interviews when Strzok was going nuts. And I swear, it was so raucous and so out of order that it reminded me of British Parliament. I don't know if any of you have ever taken even 5 minutes to watch British Parliament. That stuff is scary, dude, because they will downright kill each other on the floor. And that's exactly what that was starting to sound like, because it was getting louder and louder and angrier and angrier. And I'm just like, I understand that everybody's mad right now, and I understand that everybody's picked their side, and the side that believes that Russia is evil and that they've hampered with our elections, blah, 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 yada, 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 it needs to be dealt with. Well, here's the thing, guys, and this is where I'm coming from with this, and this has been my stance from it from day one. You cannot be mad at Russia for Barack Obama putting the American public and the American country in a position of weakness, deciding to lead from behind. Politics is just like nature. It abhors a vacuum. When we started pulling back from the world stage and decided to adopt this lead from behind strategy, that emboldened both China and Russia to start stepping forward. We saw it happening all over the place. China was reaching out to people that were our staunch allies and saying, "Hey, you can see the Americans, they're pulling back. They're done being the world police, so you're going to need somebody." Russia was doing the same thing. I cannot be mad. I really can't. I've tried. I can't be mad at Russia for doing the same thing that we've done for decades. They're so mad right now about Russia meddling in the election. I think they seem to have forgotten about Ted Kennedy actively recruiting the USSR in the 80s to try to stop Reagan from becoming president. Not the CIS, not Russia as it is today, the actual effing USSR. But tell me again about Russian collusion.
They don't care about any of it, Rick. They don't care about whatever happened in the past, and they certainly don't care about what mistakes Obama made. They don't even acknowledge them. So as far as they're concerned, the only thing that there is the here and now, and right now they think that they should be mad about all that.
Yeah, and the problem is they have so many people that are completely ginned up over it that they honestly believe it. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, so honestly, I think we're going to run just a few minutes over, if you don't mind, because we got a late start anyway, and I won't have time to do the America Off the Rails show tonight anyway because of the technical issues with the guest.
Sure.
But I did want to talk about the whole FISA thing, because here's the thing. Yes, it's all redacted like crazy, and you got to read through bunches of lines to figure things out. But if you spend more than 5 minutes looking at that thing, you realize it's nothing but a bunch of people chasing their tails that relies on a foreign agent basically giving them information by the time they put it all back together, which was Steele. Steele and media sources that aren't even trustworthy anymore were the only basis for this FISA warrant. And for everybody talking right now that well, we've seen it too, and Donald Trump doesn't know what he's talking about, let me clue you guys in on something. Donald Trump has the ultimate security clearance. He doesn't get the copy with the black lines, folks. He's seen every single line of that FISA warrant, and I guarantee you, if he's tweeting out stuff about how stupid it is, it's because he knows he's got something. Or he's pretty sure he can spin it. I don't know which one it is. I really just want to know the truth one way or the other. But the one thing I can tell you is everything that I've seen shows me that if there was some sort of Russian plot, which I'm not saying there wasn't, I don't think the Trump campaign had anything to do with it. If there was anything tied to the Russians, every time I've found any proof of it all, it points right back to the Hillary camp and to the Obama presidency, which I think is another reason why he sat on it, even though they've known about it since August of 2016. He didn't say anything until October. Why?
Yeah, all of this really just it kind of baffles me. I mean, it seems so convoluted at this point, and pretty obvious to me that the Obama administration at least knew a heck of a lot more than they're letting on, and even some of it they have let on. But I think that this is a little bit of there's obviously some revisionist history going on here, and there's some jumbling of the timeline to try to take the pressure off of where it really should be and whose kind of direction and control this would be under versus, actually, because they're trying to blame Trump, of course. I think, if there was something, obviously, like you said, we want the truth to come out. That's what we want to know. But all of this roundabout crap, and then the FISA warrant and the Steele dossier, and then relying on that, and then, oh, by the way, like Obama knew this, and his administration was, advised about X, Y, and Z, and then that was okay because Bill and Hillary's campaign knew this, and that also, but they didn't do anything because they thought they were going to win, and Obama said, hold tight. I mean, everything that's coming out just seems to be just this really tangled web. And I don't know that we're ever going to get the truth. I hope we do. I wish we would, but I don't see how that's going to be possible. But I certainly think that there's a lot of blame shifting going on here. And I think that there is a lot of, shade being thrown by Obama to kind of throw off the scent a little bit.
Is the president considering the Republican House intel request to declassify key sections of the records with respect to that FISA document release?
Somebody just sent me
and
this
will
link,
he
so
do that declassification before the House goes into recess at the end?
The president has purposefully remained uninvolved in this process. He said repeatedly that he wants the Department of Justice to be fully transparent with these requests from Congress, and he's going to continue at this point to remain uninvolved. However, he sees more and more every single day that this is proving further and further to be a total witch hunt, particularly because it was based on a false and unverified and discredited dossier.
All right, so sorry, that one actually, tying back to what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago, I just saw somebody shot me a link, and they were like, you should play this, and I'm like, cool, and then I figured I would have the chance to kind of like turn the volume down on it. Nope, started playing right away. So anyway,
That's okay, it fit in fine.
So, well, actually, while we were talking about this, there's been another breaking story according to NBC News. Big surprise, folks, for those of you who weren't sure, apparently Donald Trump did have an affair with a Playboy model in 2006, which... last I checked, that was 12 years ago, and who the hell cares? But apparently his attorney taped the conversation, which I guess New York or wherever it was taped is a single-party consent state, so there's nothing wrong with him taping it. But apparently this is what just came out from NBC News. Michael Cohen's attorney says a recorded conversation in 2016 shows Donald Trump mentioning cash in relation to possible payment to a former Playboy model who alleges she had a year-long affair with Trump. And Cohen's attorney, Lanny Davis, released the recording to CNN, which aired it Tuesday night. The audio, which is difficult to hear at times, comes after the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal reported on the existence of the recording last week. The recording appears to show Cohen, who was Trump's lawyer at the time, discussing how to set the whole thing up. With funding, at one point, Trump appears to ask what financing and seems to ask pay with cash. Cohen appears to then say, no, I got it before Trump started saying, hang on a second, hang on, I knew that was going to happen. Too many times opening. Together a monster machine with tons of memory, and because of the storage limitations of the program you use, it still goes crazy. So anyway, it goes on and on and on to talk about now how they were going to get it taken care of, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I was a college student during the Clinton years, but I don't really care what a sitting president did years before they were in office. Why the hell is that any of my business?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I guess the only thing that I'm seeing about this that is kind of, maybe making it a little bit newsworthy is A, the paying her off, and then B, which, okay, and then B is, obviously that the way that the story came out from the Trump machine is different than what is now actually being released, so that it would be they're lying or whatever. But again, like you said, I mean, I'm not sure what this is supposed to mean. We all knew he was an adulterer. We all knew that he had these frivolous affairs. We all knew that he paid people off to not talk about these kinds of things. So I'm not really sure what we're supposed to be learning here, unless there's something illegal.
So, and one last thing, and then we probably should start working on getting out of here because I don't want to keep you on too much longer because I know you got things to do. This story just broke today as well because it's like a big deal because I guess Stormy Daniels is going to be in Tulsa next month. So everybody's talking about the fact that she's going to be at, I don't even remember the name of the strip club, but she's apparently going to be working a strip club in Tulsa in August. So there was a story that came out here locally. Apparently her husband is filing for a divorce for infidelity. You married a flipping porn star.
I saw that too and kind of went, okay, whatever.
How? Now, this is going to be a bit of a double entendre, so I do apologize, but how did you not see that coming? Just saying.
And I do get that maybe their agreement was that only while she was working or something like that, and maybe it extended outside of it, so that's what he's counting as adultery. But okay. I mean, like you said, you married a porn star. No offense to porn stars, but I mean, that's kind of what you do.
I think it has more to do with sleeping with the orange Cheeto Ute guy, because I got to say that would probably be where I would draw the line. I mean, and yeah, I'm just saying. All right, so anyway, any last thoughts before we get out of here? Because we have gone a little bit over to make up for the fact that I'm not going to be able to do my other show tonight.
I don't really think so. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a few more crazy things happening this week. And I noticed on Twitter yesterday there was a lot of talk about how, white people are still bad and that we're actually intrinsically bad for this country. So, woohoo! More piling on.
I actually have seen a few libertarians talking about that, about how, the whole Make America Great Again movement is inherently racist because they want the country to return to a time when racism was still a value. And I'm like, nobody that I know that talks about Make America Great Again is talking about racism. So, and that's actually starting to really irritate me too, because I'm currently right now a registered libertarian. And I have to tell you, as soon as I can change my registration again, I'm changing it because I can't do this anymore. They have jumped the shark just as badly as everybody else. They're all, well, Make America Great Again stupid because the whole idea of what America was back then is racist, and the Libertarian Party isn't even worth having unless it's going to be a radical party. How much more effing radical can the Democratic Party be right now? So you're saying you're going to counter that by being just as radical? What, are you going to start calling for anarchy now instead of socialism? Is that your big ploy? Because I got to tell you, I don't want either one. I am a limited government conservative. I want small government, but I do believe that we need some core services. I think there are things that have to be supplied by the government. Do I like the fact that we need some core services? No, I wish we could find a way to do it all on our own, but at the end of the day, we can't, because we can't always agree on how things are supposed to be done. I want small government. I want the government out of everything other than providing things like roads, bridges, education, mental health. That's pretty much it for me. And most of that, as far as I'm concerned, should be being handled at a maximum of the state level. I don't think there should be federal education. I understand the roads, because, we can't have an interstate system without federal government involvement. Interstate system, basically, you can't have a country without one of those anymore. But, education, we used to have 50 independent laboratories of democracy. They would basically, each state would figure out what worked for them. They were their own separate entity. They were able to do those things. We need to get back to that, because at least then we'll have innovation again. We don't have innovation in this country anymore. Like in my state, I know this because I've seen this. I see the statistics all the time. In my state, Oklahoma, we are like, now with these teacher pay raises, we're like 44th in the nation in education, with an overall reading level of the 4th grade.
Oof.
4th grade. And we're not, if we're 46th, what the hell reading level does the 50th state have? None.
I mean, I hate to laugh. It's immensely sad, but ugh.
It is sad, but the reason why things are as screwed up as they are, and again, it's not all the federal government's fault, but when you start doing cookie-cutter education and one-size-fits-all, that doesn't work. The thing that drives me crazy about the modern-day education system is we know so much about how the human brain operates and how no brains are wired the same. We have usually about 4 or 5 learning groups. Different people are wired different ways. We need to find a way to innovate education to suit the people and how they learn. I understand that it would be more expensive in the short term, but think about everything it's going to save in the long term. Think about the less waste in money because you don't have people dropping out because they're bored out of their minds. My oldest son is 26 years old, dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. I couldn't get him to go to school for nothing. My wife and I, to try to teach him a lesson because he kept skipping school, went through truancy court, turned out to be this biggest money-making scheme thing ever. We wound up having to pay hundreds of dollars, all because we were trying to hold him accountable for him almost being an adult and choosing to skip school. He drops out of school, runs away to his aunt's house, so eventually we just say, look, we're going to give you temporary guardianship because this is obviously where he wants to be. Kid takes his GED at 15 and a half years old, scores off the charts. Off the charts. But he didn't want to do school because he didn't enjoy learning with books. He learned with his hands. He liked to take things apart, put them back together. He likes to build things. He likes to break things. Kind of the reverse of that type of stuff. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There
totally.
are different ways that people learn. And if we can't start using those ways, this is why we lose everybody. This is why we are now sitting in a situation right now where we are getting to the point where there are more jobs available than there are people that are skilled enough to be able to work those jobs. because we have had this cookie-cutter approach to education for the last 40 years. Everybody has to go to college to live the American dream, and we have skilled jobs that are sitting there unfilled because nobody knows how to do them, because nobody wants to go to a trade school, because everybody wants to be a doctor or a lawyer or a football player or a basketball player. It's just sad.
No, I mean, yeah, no, it's absolutely true. It's just one more way in which the federal government has taken something and completely run it into the ground.
All right, so anyway, I keep saying we're going to get out of here, then we don't. So say goodnight, Gracie.
All right.
All right, so we are going to get out of here. Why don't you remind folks where it is that they can hang out with you when you're not on the air hanging out with me?
Yes, come find me on Twitter at jhomestead, and please check out misfitspolitics.com. Tomorrow night is our Misfit Gift Challenge, so tune in on Twitter for that at 8:30 Eastern. I had to think for a second.
And as far as I know, G is back live tomorrow night, so tune in for the Conservative Convention Radio Show at 8 Eastern. Then we'll have Jess's POV at 9 Eastern. We'll have an hour break, and then I'll be back for America Off the Rails at 11 Eastern. Still, actually, I thought I had somebody lined up to fill in that slot, but now it looks like they're eyeing Friday. So we have an announcement coming soon on top of the one that we just made tonight. So there's lots of things happening here at KLRN Radio, so stay tuned. We are getting out of here, folks. I have had a really long couple of days because I had a couple of deals fall in my lap that I've been working nonstop to finish. So I'm going to go get some sleep. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Take care. God bless.